This is the Big Deal Podcast, brought to you and powered by New Covenant Baptist Church in Albertville, Alabama. And on this podcast, we're asking the question, what's the big deal about all things Bible and theology and culture? I'm Justin.
I'm Brad.
Welcome to the Big Deal. How you doing, man?
I'm all right.
Yeah.
Are you?
Yeah, I'm doing good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. I'm just dreading travel. We got to do a bunch of travel, and I'm just dreading it. I'm living in the dread right now.
Oh, I hate travel overseas.
Yeah.
Even for fun stuff, the travel is
I know
awful.
it.
And
That's right.
Are you taking Evie?
No, Evie's staying. Yeah.
Thank the Lord.
Yeah.
I mean, I know I didn't. That sounded wrong. I meant it's hard enough to get to an airport with a suitcase.
I know it.
When you got two little children, it's so stressful.
Dude, it's hard. And 8 hours.
I think maybe the most stressful place on earth is airports.
All right, let me tell you the most stressful place in the airport.
Yes.
So when you get off the plane in foreign country,
got to go through customs.
you have to go through customs.
I know.
It takes forever. And there's no one speaks English. They're all tired.
Judging you.
Well, they're just exhausted people because they just were on a red eye for 8 hours. And everyone's just tired and miserable.
You don't know when you are.
Yeah, exactly.
I always ask people, when am I? When you go overseas, sometimes I have to take malaria medication, and you have to take it every so many hours, right? Yeah. And it's like, wait a minute. What time is it?
Oh,
you can't. When am I?
Yeah. I have an app on my phone that keeps I can see it
because the hours
time.
change. Here at home, if it's every 6 hours.
Yeah.
But then all of a sudden,
you got to split the difference and stuff.
I don't know, man. Yeah. I just wind up taking too much Malarone and have weird dreams.
Yeah, we'll land. We did it a little different this time. We're gonna leave earlier. There's an early flight, quote unquote early flight.
Yeah.
Leaves at 3:25 from Atlanta. So we'll land what will feel like midnight for us.
Oh.
So our hope is that we can get treat it like a short. We didn't get much sleep today when we get to the
I'm sure it'll work out just like that.
Yeah, and but they messed us up. They said usually these trips we fly, we have a day to recover, and then Tuesday starts all the doctor stuff. Well, they scheduled his first appointment on Monday.
Yeah,
and told us about it a couple of days ago. And so we're going to get off the airplane, finally make it to the place we're staying, take a nap, and then we have a doctor's appointment that day. And it is going to be exhausting. So we're not looking forward to it, but Easter's coming up, and when we come back home, it'll be like Easter week. And that's nice.
And then I'll be gone.
Yeah, you got to leave after Easter, don't you?
Yeah.
For a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
That's right. Man,
Fort Liberty.
We should do 2 podcasts.
Yeah,
so we can because I will be gone next week.
Yeah,
we need to do one tomorrow.
Yeah,
and then that's what we're gonna do, folks. You're gonna get a podcast while I'm gone.
Wow.
Yeah, and I'll wear some lederhosen or something, and I'm in Amsterdam. Isn't that what they say? Isn't that the term?
Yes.
Okay. Isn't that the term for the little overalls?
I think it is lederhosen or something.
Yeah, it's something like that.
I think that means nerd suit in Dutch.
I think it's German.
We just offended all the Germans.
I don't care.
Who cares? Yeah. We had to fight them guys twice already.
They're Germans, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We do love you.
Jesus loves you at least.
I mean, Luther came from Germany.
I don't care.
I don't either.
Yeah, I'm not Lutheran.
Me neither. But
Luther was weird.
He was weird.
He was a weirdo, man.
He was a weirdo.
He had weird views on stuff.
Bad temper.
Yeah.
Horrible temper.
Yeah. I don't know. He's like a hero to a lot of folks, but it's all of them are heroes to people until you really start digging in life and man, I probably wouldn't get along with any of these guys.
No. Luther would kill me.
Luther killed me.
Yeah.
Calvin would kill me.
Calvin would. He would at least beg for a merciful death for us.
Yeah.
I don't know. Calvin, he gets a bad rap for, what is it, Severus? What was the guy's name?
Yeah.
But that guy didn't get killed because he was a Baptist. That guy got killed because he denied the Trinity.
Yeah.
I don't know what they did to Baptists. Maybe just beat them.
I read a book in seminary. It was a letter. It's a long enough letter to be a book. I can't remember the name of the guy, but he was a Catholic bishop during that time.
Yeah.
And he was writing to Calvin.
Yeah.
And it was fascinating. Gracious, super gracious. Gosh, I need to remember what that name that book is. I was surprised by the attitude and the whole thing. It was a shocking experience to read.
It was a weird time, man.
It was, yeah.
Everybody was reading the New Testament for the first time in 1,000 years.
Yeah, it's true.
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah. Isn't that weird?
So if you don't know, dear listener, let's see how to put this. They didn't have any Greek manuscripts. They've been counting on the Latin Vulgate for the last
400 years at least.
400 years.
500 years.
And so they had
about 600 AD, the Roman Empire collapses.
Yeah.
And there's like a vacuum, and the church fills, and they fill it with the Vulgate.
Latin Vulgate. Because they spoke Latin.
They spoke Latin.
So it was a translation. And they get estranged from the Eastern Church because of the Great Schism in about, what was that, 10...
Around 1,000.
Yeah. So what happens is about the time of Luther, a little before Erasmus, the Muslim conquests begin.
Yep.
And so a lot of the Greek-speaking Christians run to the West.
Yep.
And they bring their manuscripts with them.
Yep.
And they start looking at them. They're like,
this is different.
We did a bad job on some of this translation. Yeah. And it wasn't bad everywhere.
Well, what's weird is that it's like it's similar issues to what happened between the reason why we don't use the King James Bible. Mm-hmm. Similar reasons, like the reason we don't use the King James Bible is because the translation is 400 years old and English has changed.
Yes.
And the same thing happened with Latin. Yeah. Latin changed. And so Jerome, when he translated into, he was a great church father. He was a fine guy. Like, I don't think he was doing weird stuff.
He was weird.
Was he too?
He was weird in some ways. He was very obsessed with his celibacy and said a lot of bad things about women. Like he blamed his lust on women.
Oh,
it was a bunch of weird
how about
stuff.
that? I didn't know that. But as far as like the translation stuff, there wasn't
every
people.
single hero, except for you and me, dear listener, except for Justin and Brad. If you start digging around,
oh yeah. No, there's gonna be some. I just don't ever remember like anyone having issues with his translation.
No, he was a scholar.
Yeah,
and he was amazing.
Yeah,
and so was Origen, for that matter.
Yeah,
he also was a weirdo.
Yeah, but by the time you get to 1500, around the Reformation, Latin's changed a lot.
1,200 years.
Latin's changed a lot, and so it's not a good translation.
There
anymore.
was no English 1,200 years ago.
That's right. Yeah.
There was. It was like Old English to
you
Middle
wouldn't
English.
understand it.
No, it's like "Be me trotha, quoth the good Kniget."
Yeah,
that's from Canterbury Tales, and that's readable. That's like Middle English.
Yeah. It's kind of wild. Like the language changes, and so you end up with this situation where no one knew the New Testament.
Yeah,
right? They didn't know the Greek of the New Testament.
No, they didn't know Latin anymore.
Yeah,
because the language has changed, right? So there's all kinds of problems. Anyway, they come out.
They didn't. You're right. They didn't know Latin.
No, they didn't. And
Luther was a priest, a monk, and stuff.
Yeah,
and he knew Latin because he was one, but he didn't, and none of his people did.
Nobody.
Yeah,
and you had a bunch of people. Oh man, there was so much.
They spoke
problems.
German.
There was so many problems. They still had all the masses in Latin. Nobody spoke Latin. Many priests did not speak Latin.
Yeah,
that's where you get the hocus pocus, in hoc est, in my body, or this is my body. And the peasants were like, "This is a bunch of hocus pocus." I don't know.
Yeah.
And so sometimes a bishop would be responsible for 25 churches, and this is called simony a little bit. Mm-hmm. And he would sublet these other churches out to other people.
Yeah.
And so you'd have all these other priests down there. So let's say this guy's getting paid $100 a month to be the pastor of this one. I'm just using easy numbers. $100 a month to be a pastor of this one church. Well, he'd pay this guy $50 to do it.
Yeah.
So he's getting $50 a month profit, and he don't even have to go.
Yeah.
But that guy don't know Latin.
Yeah.
And so he's up there, and he's like going, "Hominus Dominus et among us, it's Jesus." Now, look, if there's any Catholic listeners out there, it wasn't all like that, and there are some bad Baptists out there, and blah blah blah. But
it was a thing, though.
It was a
problem.
It was a problem. But we know it was a problem because after the Reformation,
yeah,
they had something called the Counter-Reformation.
Yeah.
And they owned up to it.
They did.
And then they said we were horrible heretics after that. But they were like, yeah, there's some problems here, man. We need to clean this mess up.
Yeah. There's been some reform there was reform in the Catholic Church, you know. And a lot of the reformers didn't want to leave the Catholic Church. They wanted more reform to happen, you know.
They were trying to work with the church. That was one of the big things about Luther, whether he's a devil or a hero.
Yeah.
But he's a hero and a devil. That's the way everybody is.
Yeah, well, you know, the Catholic Church for a long time said he was like Antichrist.
Oh, yeah.
You know, until the 70s.
Yeah.
That was in Vatican II.
It's only fair because he said they were also.
Yeah. That's I know it. It's still in a lot of confessions.
Oh, yeah.
Protestant
They're
confessions.
throwing that Antichrist around like crazy.
Yeah, I know, man. And you get to the 70s, and the Catholics are finally like, okay, Luther is probably a Christian.
Maybe he was a Christian.
Yeah.
Maybe those
what did they call it? They have like a thing.
Secret communion.
Secret.
Well, that's for us.
Yeah.
You know, it's not our fault that we were born after the schism.
That's what they. Yeah.
And so we might be in secret communion with Rome.
It's so funny, man.
It is so weird. It's so weird. But they didn't revoke any of the anathemas either because they can't.
Oh yeah, I know it. A pope did it.
It was a council, you know. That's scripture kind of for them.
It's
the
weird,
tradition.
Man.
It's the other leg of the stool.
How do we get on Luther? Lederhosen, Germany, Luther, the Reformation.
Yeah, there's a trail, my friend.
Man, what a weird trail.
Yeah.
Well, welcome to the podcast, everyone, where we sometimes talk about the Bible
and church history,
and
Lederhosen,
all the things. So this morning, or it might not be morning for you.
It may not
I've just showed our cards that we're doing this in the morning.
We love to get this done with our first cup of coffee.
Yeah. So look at this cool mug Steph got me. It's got stickers on it about adventuring, which I like to do.
There's a hole in my cup that keeps. I've got like a sippy cup over here that hasn't got a. It keeps pouring out of my face. What's going on here, Hydro Flask?
You need to start using straws, Brad.
I'm going to have to. I've hit that age. I'm going to get. Yep.
Got to get a lid and a straw.
Yep.
All right, so we're in the.
These are adult sippy cups.
It really is. Did you say that?
I just realized
this is an adult sip. I have lid off.
Yeah,
because I'm a grown man.
Because you're a grown man. All I'm thinking about is keep the heat in there. You know.
I actually took my lid off to let some of the heat out, so it cool down a little bit.
I'm scared to drink from this now. It's a gag.
I should put the lid back on though, because when the lid's on, it keeps it out of my mustache.
Yeah,
all the coffee.
There's
out of my
a good
mustache.
reason to have a sippy cup.
My mustache is like a rag that absorbs and soaks up everything. It's ridiculous.
I told you, my grandfather remembers his great grandfather. Did I tell you that? So he was a pastor for a Methodist church back in the whatevers.
Before
way before. And he
crazy.
said all he remembers is the guy had a big beard down to his belly, and when they would eat eggs together, he would always get egg in his beard. That's what he remembers about him. He's like 5 when they got down to 6. Yeah,
man.
Yeah.
Eggs are delicious. Let's talk about the Bible. All right. So we're in the book of Leviticus.
Yay!
Yeah. Last week we just kind of talked about the intimidation factor of reading Leviticus, and a lot of you might do like a yearly Bible challenge or something. You're going to read the entire Bible in a year, and you're going to get to Leviticus in February or something.
Yeah.
And you're going to get bogged down March, and you're going to get bogged down and confused. There's a lot of things that could happen.
You're like, what does this matter?
Yeah, that is the biggest. It turns into a frustration a lot of times where people are expecting to dig into the scripture. They love Jesus so much, and they're going to dig into scripture, and they're going to be thinking the whole time, like, how do I apply this to me? Like, what does this matter for my life? And they're expecting a revelation of some sort. To like, this is going to change my day today. Like, I'm going to be able to apply this today. And they read about the burnt offering. I'm like,
yeah,
what am I supposed to do with this?
What am I doing?
And there's an important idea in Bible reading that not everything is directly applicable. Now, there was stuff that we talked about last week that is, but not everything is like a letter straight to you from God about how you need to change something today.
Yeah.
Like, you can't open up the scriptures and Russian roulette style and like, this thing, this passage, this paragraph, this sentence I'm going to read right now is going to it's going to.
Contrary to popular belief, the
Yeah.
Bible's not just a how-to book.
It's not.
It
It's not a
ain't.
manual.
No.
There's history
You're
and-
trying to learn wisdom.
Yeah.
And that's a whole nother object. Than
You're not
just-
going to do that by Russian roulette style, flip it
No.
open, read a verse in Leviticus or
No.
something. This is going to
No.
be like a word from the Lord or
It's
something.
deeper.
You know,
It's a different thing. Wisdom is different than a checklist. We want a checklist because we're lazy,
yeah.
but that's not what the Bible is.
Yeah. Well, we want magic sometimes too.
I do.
That's
too.
like, that's why I think like there's like a
I tell
mysticism
people-
that when they
Yeah.
go to Bible reading, it's like, I want this to be like a magic thing for me.
Yeah.
I read my Bible. I prayed this morning.
What's going to happen
Make
now?
my life better.
Yeah.
Make it better.
Yeah.
Like, and it just don't work that way, man. It's not supposed to work that way.
No.
The quiet time culture kind of gives you that.
The
but
most
it's not it.
magical thing you have, though,
Uh-huh.
are your words. Words are magic, dude.
Yeah.
They
Okay.
change people's lives.
They do. Oh, that's true.
They absolutely influence the direction of people's lives.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. People think we don't have magic, but
Yeah.
in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth with his word.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that separates us from all other beings on this planet is that we can talk to each other.
Yeah. Parrots can talk.
They can, but there's nonsense to them. They're just going, yeah, but like, if you think your words aren't powerful in magic, just tell your kid they can't do nothing, that they're stupid, and see how they turn out.
Oh, I know, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Or
Yeah.
tell them that they can and I love you, and see what difference it makes in
Exactly.
their life.
Yeah, you're exactly
Yeah.
right. So, anyways, you get into this Bible reading issue sometimes with Leviticus that
Yeah.
it can create a frustration in you where you don't understand the point, and that's the point of this podcast.
Yeah, kind of like we said last week, or last podcast was, it's adding. You can jump in on the New Testament like you're catching part 2 of a movie.
Yeah.
and you can kind of follow along,
Yeah.
but you won't understand some of the references.
Yeah, that's right. And so that's why we're going to spend some time at least like looking at what's happening in Leviticus, because most of the references in the scriptures about the Levitical laws are actually in the New Testament. They're not in the Old Testament. There's a handful of moments in the Old Testament where they actually do them, but it's just a handful. I mean, I think we said this last week that by and large, they did not do the law. They
No.
did not
Yeah,
follow
but,
the sacrificial system.
I'm trying to think what was in my mind as a younger Christian, how I envisioned the kingdom of Israel, and I think what I envisioned is very wrong.
Yeah.
Because you sort of think when God judges Israel and that they get captured by Babylon, they come down and the Syrians get them. You're sort of stuck in 2 time periods in your brain. You're thinking the time of Moses and the kingdom of David. And you forget that there's hundreds and hundreds of years between those events.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
and even the exile, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And they were not doing this. It wasn't that they backslid, and as we say in Baptist churches, and that they were kind of going to church every once in a while.
Yeah.
They literally completely ignored it. They didn't do it at all.
Yeah.
At all.
You mentioned
Josiah.
I can't remember. Yeah, we talked about that, but I can't remember if we actually said this on the podcast. So we were talking later about it, about the that guy finding like a statue or temple or something outside of
beside-
Jerusalem.
Yeah.
And it was, they were looking at it like, well, this is proof that they didn't actually worship Yahweh. This
Yes.
is all later and stuff. And your point was like, well, this is actually affirming what the scripture says about Israel.
There's a reason. There is a reason that God was like, when he says you've abandoned me,
Yeah.
he meant like you have abandoned me.
Yeah.
Like they're gone.
It's not like you slipped up today.
No.
It's like
And that's kind of
your whole generation.
That's kind of the thought I had. So, like, this is what happens. In my days growing up in church, if somebody would miss a few Sundays, they'd say, "Well, that guy's backslid."
Yeah.
He ain't been to church in 2 or 3 weeks.
Is that actually in the Bible? Is backsliding?
I think it's in a King James somewhere in
Oh,
Proverbs.
it's a
Backslid.
okay, I understand,
I
yeah.
mean, the concept is true. You can slide away from God, right?
Yeah.
You can, and
You can-
it's
there
not-
can be distance,
It's not
yeah.
a bad term. It just got used a lot for some
Okay.
reason. People latched onto it, but so I sort of think when Israel backslid, I thought they just hadn't gone to the temple in a while or something. But like they literally discovered the Torah and didn't know what it was.
Yeah.
They hadn't celebrated the Passover in 1,000 years. Just like, what?
When you read like Chronicles, it's a weird. You'll get to this if you're doing this Bible reading thing. You know, read 1st, 2nd Chronicles, and it's this account of each of the kings, and over and over again, it'll say stuff like, "And they didn't tear down the
high places.
They didn't, tear down the Asherah poles or whatever. You know." And
they were massive phallic symbols.
Oh yeah,
yeah. They were like,
is that what that was? Okay.
Ashtoreth poles were. I think that was the goddess of fertility.
Oh,
if you went out there and saw it, you'd be like, oh, "What? Yeah, what are we doing? Where have I come to? What is this place?"
How about that?
Yeah. I'm pretty sure that was what they were. Yeah. It wasn't. It wasn't.
I want to
good.
look up a picture.
Yeah. See
Wait a second. No, no.
It burns. See, right when you started tapping, the Lord
Wait a
was like,
second. No, don't do that.
Yeah, we'll look it up later.
A lot of times, if I'm doing some of the Old Testament with students, I'll like look up. I want to show them like a picture of what Baal looked like or Dagon or something, like what their statues looked like to give them an image of like. Immediately when they see it, they think, this is bad news. This is so bad.
Yes.
Like this looks like an evil creature.
Yeah.
And they're right.
They're right. And also like the Baals, like you I also kind of think of like Daniel when Nebuchadnezzar makes a huge golden statue, you kind of get in your brain that that's what their idols were like. But when we dig up the idols, they're like the size of this coffee cup. Yeah. They're like tiny little things.
Yeah.
They it's just,
that's why in some places the Bible makes fun of them.
Yes, yeah,
because
it's just like it looks like somebody's chainsaw art that's outside the pawn shop. That's right. It's like that's what.
So majorly, they don't do this sacrificial system. They don't participate in it.
No.
They're pagans. Like Israel, they don't ever really do. You have the time of David. You have a piece of Solomon. Mm-hmm. You have
reforms of Josiah.
But they fall off so quickly.
Yes.
And
Hezekiah was a good one. And there were maybe 3 or 4 kings of Judah after Solomon that were good.
Yeah.
3 or 4 of all of them.
None in the northern kingdom.
Not a single one.
Yeah.
But they'll reference Yahweh.
Yeah.
They'll sometimes even, what's his name?
Oh, when they want to get something.
Jezebel's husband. What's his name? Ahab. Yeah, Ahab be like, well, maybe the Lord will be with us. And sometimes the Lord is with Ahab. Yeah. It's so weird.
Yeah. And so it's a good thing, like when you're reading the scriptures, to think about the author and like how this stuff works. Like the Torah that we're reading out of right now with Leviticus is written by Moses. And a lot of the historical books that follow are they're not written by the protagonists and stuff. They're not written by they're written by what's called like the school of prophets.
Yes.
Like this group,
the remnant.
It's a tiny remnant of people who are faithful.
Yeah.
And they're very antagonistic to the larger culture of Israel.
Yes.
Like they're like looking around like none of y'all care about Yahweh.
So if you, one way to tell that we're telling you the truth, the next book after this is Joshua.
Yeah.
Great conquest. Oh man, we're going to get the land.
Yep.
We're going to get it. And the next book is Judges. And that's probably the most horrific book in the Bible.
And it's the best glimpse into what Israel was actually
so
like.
Quickly.
Yeah.
So fast.
Yeah.
So fast. I mean, people think Samson's a hero, and he was supposed to be an object lesson of what happens when you don't listen to God.
Yeah. Yeah. The judges it's like the norm.
Yes.
For Israel, and not just during that time. It's the norm throughout until the exile.
Yeah.
The
reason, God, this is going to sound crazy. The reason that there was an exile, dear listener, to Babylon and Assyria is because it worked.
Yeah, it did.
After they went to exile, they actually started paying attention to the Torah.
Nehemiah and Ezra, when they come back,
yeah,
and they're restored, there's like this scene of weeping when they read the law out loud. Is that Nehemiah or Ezra? I can't remember which one that is. Ezra.
Well, they're kind of contemporaries.
Yeah, they are. Yeah.
So
I can't remember the reference.
Yeah.
But
Ezra,
they weep.
I think it's Ezra because he assigns people to go around to make sense of the law.
Yeah.
And what that meant was there's a lot of linguistic issues. It's 1,000 years. So that when they were reading the law and they'd been in exile and they'd learned these languages, not everybody could understand what was being said, not just from a theological aspect, but like the language was weird.
Oh, yeah.
And so they had people who interpreted, and they were going and saying, this is what the Lord wants us to do. This is how you should serve the Lord. And they wept because they were like, we never heard this before.
Yeah.
We didn't know.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. They a lot of them were uncircumcised. They're
and
married.
God had mercy on them.
Yeah.
Nehemiah at the end, though, the marriage thing was weird.
What, oh, yeah.
He made them get rid of their kids and wives.
Yeah.
If they wouldn't,
And that's hard. That's a hard thing to do. But, you look at the situation, you look at the history.
Yeah.
It's like.
Another thing is, though, it's written very harshly, but it may be they had to get rid of the wives that would not worship Yahweh. Because we know that if they convert.
Exactly.
That they're accepted.
Yeah.
Ruth was a Moabitess.
Yeah. Yeah.
And is a hero.
Yeah,
right?
That's right.
In the lineage of David.
Yeah. And so, it must be like that they were going to remain pagan or something.
Yeah, they're like, we'd rather leave than worship your God.
Yeah.
Like, well, get on out.
Yeah, that's right. But that's
for the
still
streets.
in the New Testament. Like in 1 Corinthians, Paul tells them, look, if your spouse won't convert and it's a problem, right? And and she wants to leave you because you're a Christian or something.
Let her go.
Let her go.
Yeah.
The
tears fall down like rain.
Yeah.
Let her cry.
Yeah.
If it eases all your pain.
Yeah.
You with me? Yeah.
So you get to you're right, the exile word, because when they come back, the 400 years or so between the end of the Old Testament to the New Testament is like Israel honestly taking the law seriously. Now they go too far on things. They get legalistic and stuff.
But
the Pharisees,
they get ramped up about looking for Messiah.
They do. They take the law seriously. And that's the setting for the New Testament. So the best setting for the New Testament is like the most strict adherence to the Levitical law.
God sent Jesus at the exact right moment when Israel was most prepared to both receive and reject him, where they could make an informed decision.
Yeah, that's
I'm
right.
Serious.
That's a good point. That's a really good point.
That's the exact moment.
Yeah.
He couldn't have come in 1920.
Oh, yeah.
Not the way Israel was or where they were or what was going on. That was the moment.
Yeah, that's right. And so the reason it's important to know the law, Leviticus, Deuteronomy, etc., is because the setting of the New Testament in the Gospels when Jesus shows up this is the greatest parallel you have for it. They're actually doing it.
Yeah.
They're doing sacrifices. They're following it very strictly. And more.
Yes.
And even more.
What would be a great movie or transition if you get this in your mind a little bit, maybe to understand what we're saying? If you had Moses and the children of Israel and Joshua and they go in the promised land, and then you kind of have this desert scene where a tumbleweed tumbles by, and all of a sudden you're 150 years into the future in the book of Judges. And you have people come start talking, and they've got idols in their house.
Yeah.
And they go up to the temple, and there are no priests there because they all had to leave because nobody was bringing the sacrifices.
Yeah.
And so the temple's abandoned. Nobody's worshiping Yahweh. There are priests who are farming themselves out to rich families because they're like, oh, it'll be lucky for us. We'll have a priest in our house. That's where we get to that.
Yeah, very quickly.
And you would watch that and go, how? What happened? What's the adventure now? And then God will come to somebody like Gideon and be like, look, I get overwhelmed with sympathy for God. He's like, listen, Gideon, man, the Philistines have taken over because y'all aren't listening to me. And he's like, well, how can I know that you're actually this guy I once heard about, Yahweh? Gideon doesn't even really know who he is either.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm Yahweh, the guy who brought you here. You know, and when you go to a square dance, you go back home with the one that brought you. And y'all are not. And he's like, okay, well, maybe I could throw his fleece out. And he's like, you need to tear down the Ashtoreth pole in your middle of your village.
Yeah.
It was Ashtoreth or a Baal pole.
It was one of the things,
and he's like, okay, I'll do it at night when nobody can see.
Yeah, I know it, right? Yeah.
Yeah, so you're trying to watch this. You're rooting for him. Come on, God's with you.
Yeah.
And I feel like when the Bible says that we're surrounded by a great cloud of witnesses, that's probably what they're doing. Because they've all been through it. If they're like watching us and they're like, Brad, quit being such a weenie. What are you doing?
Oh man! So that's why it's all that to say. This is why it's important to read Leviticus and to understand what it is. So let's look at some of the laws or some of the other sacrifices. Last week we talked about the burnt offering, which is the very first one, and we just kind of used that like a way to talk about the sacrificial system.
Yes.
Yeah. What are you gonna say?
I was just thinking about the sacrificial system and the ordination of priests that are in this.
Yeah.
And about how it could be frustrating for a reader, because I think when Aaron, I think this is right. When he's ordained, they take some of the blood, they put it on the lobe of his right ear, on his right thumb, and on his right big toe. I think something like that. Mm-hmm. And you read that. And I can just imagine a young Christian reading that and going, What? Because, like, I have been doing the Bible now for 20-something years, preaching. I don't know what that's about.
You don't know what that's about?
Right earlobe, right thumb, right toe? I don't know about that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, what is it?
Oh, Walkie and all them, they like, there's a kind of a unanimous
they made up some stuff.
I don't know if it's probably rabbinic tradition, you know, that they read.
I know the Bible doesn't explain.
No, it doesn't. It shouldn't be disregarded on something like that. But it's head to toe. It's the idea of
but it's the specifics. The specifics.
It's like
of the
it's
right
just to
ear,
be
right toe, right side.
Yeah,
right.
there's an explanation I've heard. I can't remember the exact details of it.
I just know the Bible don't tell you.
No, not explicitly, but there's like there's a consensus on it, and I'm not familiar with how they got there on the consensus.
But then you get that from the Bible, so I just ignore it.
Yeah, I don't ignore it. I think
don't matter.
But it doesn't matter. They just do it, you know.
There it is.
What?
It's chapter 8.
Yeah. That's 8 is the ordination of priests. Yeah.
8:24 if you want to read it.
Yeah.
Moses put some of the blood on the lobe of their right ear, and on the thumb of their right hand, and on the big toe of their right foot. He sprinkles the rest on the altar.
Yeah. Well, the way I was explained to it in seminary was it's head to toe. You're like, you're wholly given over.
That's right. Hey, look, if you don't have an explanation of the Bible, you just make something up.
I don't know about that. I think that might be a little unfair. I
guess. You say so.
It's like the people I reference, they're not like known to be folks who are making stuff. They're actually folks who are like, we don't go. Bruce Walkie, he don't go beyond the scriptures.
Well, he did just then because it ain't in there.
Well, what I'm saying is like he probably read rabbinic sources or something.
Right, but even those are like 1000 AD, man.
Yeah, not all of them.
We don't have a lot of ancient stuff.
There's
the Mishnah.
There's some stuff that goes way back. It
don't go back to Moses.
Not to Moses.
No.
Yeah. You're very antagonistic towards anything like any explanation. Yeah.
Yeah, I am.
But 100%. I think you might be a little over antagonistic to some things.
Nah.
Yeah. The kind of like more consensus stuff that's like, well, we see this over and over again. Like we see this explanation over and over again.
Well, if it's in the Bible, it's fine. Yeah.
But let's ask ChatGPT.
ChatGPT can settle it. It has an artificial intelligence. It's not ashamed.
Did priests get blood on their earlobes?
Hey, you're like that guy now in Joe Rogan's podcast, Jamie.
Oh my God!
Google it.
Yeah.
Hey, bring that up for us, Justin.
Yeah.
I got Bruce Walkie over there, but unfortunately only in Genesis. No, I think I have his Old Testament theology.
Yeah, maybe. That's where I read it was. Yeah.
Yeah. He was friends with my old professor.
Mm-hmm.
They were rivals. It was like what were those two rabbinical traditions that Jesus was always wrestling with about divorce and stuff. What were they? Some said you could divorce for any reason.
Yeah, that's
and then
right.
the others said never.
Never. Yep, that's
What
right.
were they?
I can't remember the names of the guys.
And they mentioned it though
Yeah,
in the New
yeah, the
Testament. That
rabbis,
was his.
yeah.
That's the walk key.
Yeah. So, here's I've never heard of this one. Though the head to toe was the only one I've heard is like just covered.
Yeah.
This one, whoever they're referencing, I don't know who ChatGPT is referencing, but
that's the Lord.
Hearing, action, and walking.
Oh, well, see,
Yeah.
when you're making up
That's a
stuff,
little-
one thing's as good as the next.
Yeah, that's that seems made up.
Yes.
Yeah.
The other one's not made up,
Yeah.
but because Walkie said it. But this one is.
Yeah, it's like one of those things. We've said this before. Like if you everywhere you look, you get the same answer for 1,000 years. It's like, well, I'm a bit less hesitant on like saying this is probably wrong.
I mean, maybe. Just depends.
So
Anyway, it don't matter. It don't matter.
It don't really matter.
If you say it doesn't matter, that's correct. But if you say it don't matter, that means like seriously,
It really don't matter.
Yeah, it don't matter.
But I think it's interesting though. The interpretive history of it all is interesting. So let's look at some of these other offerings. The grain offering, chapter 2. What's going on with the grain offering?
Well, I think it's very important because it goes back to another tradition that's dumb.
Okay.
So like Cain and Abel.
Yeah.
Cain offers from the earth. He's a farmer, right?
Yeah.
He basically makes a grain offering. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people will look at that and say, well, Cain's offering was not accepted because he didn't offer a lamb.
Oh, yeah.
And that was said for 1,000 years by Bruce Walkie. No, he didn't say that.
He didn't say that. He didn't say that.
I don't know. Is Bruce still alive?
No, I think he passed. Yeah, yeah.
He's going to haunt me now.
Yeah.
I was just joking, Bruce. I love you. Yeah. I truly love him. Yeah. But, so people would say that Cain's offering was not accepted because he offered but grain offerings were accepted. Cain's offering, his problem was not that he offered grain. His problem that his heart wasn't right with God. And that's the issue. So, there's a grain offering. It was kind of a, what do they call it, a votive offering? Or depends on your translation, I guess.
Yeah, gratitude, acknowledgement.
Basically, it was like, hey,
like
God's been good to me. Yeah. Let's take some grain up there and offer it. And they didn't burn it or anything.
Yeah.
That offering actually helped support the priesthood.
Yeah.
They would put it in the storehouse, and that's what the priests could eat.
Yep. You could go ahead
cakes.
And make the bread out of it.
Yes.
Or you can give it in like the unaltered version, you know, without mixed and whatnot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was a gratitude thing. It wasn't necessarily for sin.
Yeah.
It was, man, we had a great harvest this year. We should go take some to the house of the Lord and thank him for it.
Yeah. And no one ever does it.
And no one ever does
Poor
it.
priests.
Yep.
Yeah.
Even though God promised, if you will do it, that's where that whole shaking, press down, running over promise is. It's like, hey, don't be shy to bring your offerings up to my house, because if you will, I will bless you so much. You'll have so much food, it will be ridiculous. So don't be stingy.
There's an interesting piece of the grain offering, verse 11. No grain offering that you present to the Lord is to be made with yeast, for you're not to burn any yeast or honey as a food offering to the Lord.
Yeah.
That is interesting. What's the deal with the yeast? Do you think?
Well, I don't know. There's a little bit, like in the New Testament, it talks about a little yeast leaveneth the whole lump, right?
Leaveneth.
Yeah,
you just went full King James
I don't know
on
how
that.
to say it in English. Leavens?
Leavens,
Leavens, I guess.
yeah.
It's like the other day.
Some 1 Corinthians,
I'm fixing a squirrel on you. Sometimes it says he pleaded with her. He pleaded. My whole life I've said pled. He pled. Like if someone...
Pled?
Yeah, pled.
Okay.
Like when you go before the court and you're guilty...
You plead.
You can't, but you say it in past tense.
I pleaded.
I see, but if I said he pled guilty, would you think, oh, that's wrong?
Probably not.
Yeah. So it's a word.
I he's just redneck.
So yeah. So whatever. No, pled guilty.
Yeah.
That's what I heard my whole life. Maybe it's changed. Anyway, I think that in the New Testament, so it talks about how, because of this, people start seeing yeast as a symbol of evil.
Yeah.
That's not necessarily what it is. There's a couple of things, like I guess.
Well, there's it's used two ways in the New Testament.
Mm-hmm.
One, it's way Jesus uses it in a parable.
Yeah.
In a positive light.
Well, but some people translate that or interpret that negative too.
Yeah.
I got in a big fuss with an older pastor because he insisted that yeast always was evil.
Really?
Yes.
Jesus' parable is, I think,
it's like the spread of the kingdom of
growth
God.
Of the kingdom.
Yeah, but he was like, oh, it means that as the kingdom grows, error's going to get into it.
Oh, well, that's a stretch right there.
Well, it has to be once you've
if you
knuckled
into
down
that,
on yeast is always bad. It could be just a simple just a food issue. Like once the yeast starts moving, it can start molding and ruin. Just keep the yeast out of it. I don't know.
He just tells them not to do it.
Don't do it. And honey
yeast.
too.
Yeah, and honey. Yeah. I don't know why, but anyways,
because
they
God
tell them
knew
not
that
to.
honey was bee vomit. That's how he was like.
Well, he's sending them into the land of bee vomit.
Yeah, he is. Yeah. It's delicious. Yeah,
and but it is probably one of those things where there's no reason. It just says don't do it. Right? Don't put the yeast in. But I think that's important because if you get into like the later stuff in the New Testament or you get like folks trying to be holistic or love Jesus and they get into food stuff and they're like, all yeast is bad. Yeast is evil now.
No.
Right? It's like, look, if God won't allow it in an offering, then you shouldn't allow it in your body.
Yeah, don't do that.
Dude, it's not that big of a deal.
No, here's the thing, man. There are lots of laws in the Bible that don't make sense symbolically. Doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
It's just stuff God told you not to do.
Yeah.
Like don't eat catfish.
Oh, mixing the
because it doesn't have scales.
Mixing the threads. And
yeah,
stuff.
Don't mix the threads. Don't cut your hair. There's a lot of laws that like. I mean, you can go in there and try to find some symbolic meaning for it or whatever, but really, at the end of the day, it's just God giving them a checklist to make sure they pay attention.
Yeah.
So there's an infamous thing about this with rock and rollers.
Yeah. Rock and rollers.
Rock and rollers, like bands.
Okay.
And they would be like, "Hey, when we're in our suite, we only have green M&Ms in our bowl." Like there's weird stuff like that, and they're like, "Oh, these people are Madonnas or whatever." But they put those things in their contract to see if you're paying attention to the contract.
Oh yeah.
And so it's not about green M&Ms or green Skittles only. It's about did they read the contract?
Yeah, yeah.
And so
that's funny.
that I think that's kind of that would be my explanation for a lot of things. Is the reason you can't eat catfish or shrimp is not because they're like inherently evil or bad. It's that God is saying, "Are you paying attention to the law?"
Yeah.
What are you bringing this yeast in here? Did I tell you not? Well, what's wrong with yeast? There's nothing wrong with yeast. I just don't want the yeast.
Yeah.
Don't bring me honey. Don't bring me yeast. That's all there is to it.
Yeah.
When my kids go trick or treating, don't bring me Tootsie Rolls.
Yeah.
I don't want Tootsie Rolls. They will give me a tenth of all that they've gotten.
Yeah.
But
it doesn't work like that for everything. Like there are some things that you're supposed. It's like think about like the Lord's Supper. We take a Lord's Supper. He tells us it's bread and cup, right?
Yeah.
Take the Lord's Supper, in remembrance of me.
Mm-hmm.
Why? You can ask why. Why the bread and the wine?
Yeah.
And there's a sense in which he just told you to do it, but that it's not. It doesn't mean there's no point in reflecting on it and like the beauty of it and like finding, meaning in the moment or something, like I know how forgiveness tastes in a sense, we taste it every Sunday morning. It's supposed to be like a multi-sensory kind of event. It's not like it's meaningless. I don't want like any of this stuff to come across like God is telling them to do meaningless things. It's not meaningless. You just probably don't need to be digging for a objective answer of like, as in like, this is like magic bread and juice or something, you know what I mean?
No, sometimes it matters and sometimes it don't. Sometimes it's just God, like, pay attention.
Yeah.
And he's making a bunch of rules so that no matter where you go or what you do, you have to pay attention.
Like even with the animal sacrifices stuff, it's not meaningless that he chose cow, sheep, goat, whatever. they're expensive.
Yeah.
Right. It's
their livelihood.
It's a livelihood. It's connected to your life. It's like it's supposed to be a cut into your livelihood. And so it's not meaningless. And I think that's an important thing.
No, but if you start looking like why is God accepting the kidneys and not the liver or something?
Cow is good, and if I had to eat a horse, I'd be evil.
Yeah.
I was like, no.
Horses are unclean.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Horses are unclean, but they still use them. Actually, they use mules. It's so weird. But yeah, because the horse doesn't split the hoof.
That's right. Yeah.
So it's unclean. So, and so a lot of times people say like pork is evil or whatever.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. It's like that's not what's happening here. Like you don't have to go, you don't have to like take this beyond where the scripture's taking it.
No.
So the grain offering, anyways, it talks about yeast. Yeast is okay. You can have delicious bread.
Yes. Well, there's a little bit with that from the Passover. They weren't supposed to make their bread with yeast that night.
Yep,
and
that's right.
the explanation was you don't have time to wait for it to rise.
Yep.
So there was that. And the whole church, like you think, oh, this is so dumb. It's actually a big deal because when the church, we mentioned earlier, when the East split from the West, one of their big things that they fussed about is whether or not communion bread should have yeast in it or not, whether it should be unleavened or leavened bread. And the East said, you can have leavened bread. And the West said, you heretic. And if you watch the Catholic Church, they have unleavened bread. They got them little round wafers. With, and we do too.
Well, ours has leaven.
Does it?
Yeah, tortillas and stuff do.
Tortillas are
It's
leavened?
a cracker.
Yeah.
Unleavened is cracker, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
It's hard.
I thought if it hadn't risen, it didn't have yeast.
Let's look at tortillas. Tortillas.
Well, corn tortillas wouldn't. They're not even.
We don't use corn tortillas.
We don't use corn tortillas. That would be anathema. That would be heresy. You can't use corn. What's the matter with you? Yeah.
Oh, no. Tortillas.
I don't think they're leavened.
They don't have. Okay.
Anything that's spongy, it's got air in it.
I thought, though, it was still.
Yeah. So the yeast makes.
I thought it was cracker. Like it just turned into a cracker.
No, yeast makes the bread have air bubbles in it.
But tortillas has that. That's why I'm like
so confused.
I wonder if it's just not been given time or something.
I don't know.
I don't know anything about baking.
But the church split over it, man.
Yeah, how dumb is that?
Well, it was how dare you have leavened bread? How dare you not recognize the Pope as the vicar
and by
of Christ?
By the way, the leaven thing was most likely just a screen.
Oh, absolutely.
For the politics.
This was an absolute the split between the East and the West, and in my opinion, it was just whose entourage is going to be in charge.
Yeah,
that's all it was. Because Rome had diminished.
Yeah,
and because the capital was now Constantinople.
Yeah,
and which is not Constantinople anymore. It's Istanbul, and so wherever the emperor was, that pope or that bishop of that city had more clout. Mm-hmm. And Rome was over here felt like a jilted bride.
Yeah.
And they're like, hey, we're still the Pope. And he's like, hey, we have 7 sees. We don't have one Pope. If we had one Pope who could tell everybody what to do, why do we have to have these church councils? Yeah. And that's why to this day, the East loves the church councils.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Which is a good point, actually.
Yeah, and because they didn't happen there in Rome.
Yeah.
It happened in Nicaea.
Yeah, or if you have a Pope who can just sit in Peter's chair and go, thus saith the Lord, what do you have to have a council for?
That's right.
Just let the Pope speak.
Yep. So one other thing about the grain offerings is that they have to come with salt. You remember that part? Yeah. They have to. You are to present salt with each of your offerings. Like never not bring salt.
God likes a little salty bread. He likes his tortillas salted.
He wants his priests at least to be eating some salted bread.
Yeah.
So that's pretty interesting. And they mix frankincense with it too.
Yeah.
Which
it's not an herb.
It's like a weird thing.
It's incense.
Yeah, it is something along those lines.
I've had some frankincense. Not had it. Like
I've smelled it or something.
Yeah. When I was at an Ethiopian restaurant, I bought some frankincense.
Mm. So the next one we have is the fellowship offering or peace offering or something. Is what they call it. And And it's the same thing, voluntary offering, right? It's not about sin. It's just about like unity and
really the application that we're trying to drive at in this is you can stroke a check to the church anytime you want. Anytime you're feeling grateful to the Lord, you can offer us your free will votive grain offering. And eggs are back. People get back in the old days in America. When they would give an offering, a lot of the folks didn't have no money. And they would donate eggs and stuff to the pastor.
That's so true. Yeah,
100%.
yeah.
Eggs are back, baby.
Yeah.
You put eggs in the thing, it's like gold now. Like, whoa, hey.
Yeah, everyone says that. Eggs are still cheap, dude.
I know.
Everyone's so uptight about the egg price. It's still the cheapest protein you can buy.
Yeah, except maybe a pork loin.
Yeah, maybe pork loin. But it's still cheaper than a pound of hamburger meat.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I just got into the egg black market.
Oh,
I just broke into it.
Who?
I can't tell. It's a black market. I can't say. I don't know if they're selling. If you guys are selling, I know you're listening. If you're selling widely, I will totally tell the public about your eggs.
Yeah.
But $3 for a dozen yard eggs.
Oh, that's a deal.
That's awesome. And I heard they're delicious.
That's not paying for their feed.
I know. Also, I know y'all are listening. You could charge me more.
I have my own chickens. I go and I get my eggs every day and thank my little chickens for laying them.
Yeah, I love eggs. God,
I love eggs
I'm
every single day.
I'm going to eat some eggs tonight. I'm going to make eggs.
Eggs are clean.
Yeah.
They're fine.
I guess they were. Yeah.
And there's like rules. Like if you were walking down the road and you saw a nest and there were 3 eggs in it, you can only take 2.
Yeah.
You can't take the last one. You got to leave that mama bird one baby.
So, anyways, you have this fellowship offering, peace offering, and it's meat and stuff. And it's very similar to like the burnt offering. You're burning stuff, you're cutting them up, burning it on the altar and everything. All fat belongs to the Lord in this one. And so the rest of it, though, it seems like they get to eat with the priests and everything.
Yes,
right?
the fat they're not supposed to eat, which is one of those little undercurrents where if you don't know this, when you get to 1 Samuel and Eli and his 2 worthless sons is what the God. Can you imagine? Like, man, God is writing the biography of your life in his word. Mm-hmm. And your description is, and Eli had 2 sons who were worthless fellows. It's like, oh man. Anyway, Eli got super fat, and so were his boys because they were eating the offering.
Yeah,
they were eating the fat, and people corrected them.
Yeah,
some people knew. So like whoever it was, the remnant of the faithful who actually still came to the temple, were like, hey man, you're not supposed to eat that fat.
Yeah.
And Eli's sons, what is it? Hophni
and Phinehas. Yeah.
Hophni and Phinehas be like, shut up or we're going to whoop you.
Yeah.
Like that's what they said. We're going to whoop you. We're going to beat you up here at the temple. Shut up or eating this.
Yeah. Golly.
And then they were worthless fellows.
They were, yeah. And then you get the sin offering. And this is a little different.
Yeah.
When someone sins unintentionally against any of the Lord's commands and does anything prohibited by them, this is like unintentional sin.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah,
there's an offering for that.
Yeah.
Like what do you imagine would have happened? Like what would have counted for
you
that?
Might, maybe you did something and you did something when you were unclean. You didn't realize you were unclean, or maybe you weren't rehearsed well in the law, and you did something on accident and you became aware, kind of like when they realized we got to be circumcised.
Yeah.
Probably. That's my guess. Or like you cook something and you got your pot there. Yeah. And you come in and your wife's out back, she's threshing some grain, and you cook you up some eggs in a pot, and you come back in and she goes, oh, a lizard died in that. It was unclean. I set it over here because it was unclean for 6 days. And you're like, oh no, I've got to bring an offering. I didn't know the pot was unclean. You're supposed to put it somewhere else. And it's like, well, we used to put it over there, but now I put it over here. And you're like, why? Why did we stop putting it over here? Because this was still happening.
That's right.
Back in those days. Well, sometimes a wife will make a change of address for where stuff goes without notifying the husband.
Yeah, that's
maybe that might not happen.
That probably doesn't happen.
No,
to
never.
anyone.
No, no. Where is my flashlight? It's over in that drawer, but it was on this drawer for 4 years. They're like, yeah, but they don't go there no more.
I'm actually generally the one who moves stuff around. In our
You're
house.
the address changer?
I am. Yeah.
That don't make no sense, man.
Yeah. I don't know.
I hope you have a better explanation than it just doesn't go there anymore.
No, that's usually what it is. I just like, I was like, I just don't like, we have like, this just happened to us the other day.
This.
Like, we had this drawer that, I don't know, it's like kitchen utensils. No, this is kitchen utensils.
Okay, yeah.
That also had like some screwdrivers and a flashlight in it. I'm
Yes.
like, I don't like that.
Yep.
I want the screwdrivers and flashlight out.
For a while.
I did. I don't like no more.
Yep. It's weird. It's like, man, I try not to talk about it, but like sometimes the ice cream scoop's the thing that gets moved. Like nobody knows where to put that thing. Is it go over here with these utensils?
We haven't had an ice cream scoop in like years for some reason.
What?
It's a problem,
dude. You need to get one.
It's a problem.
Yeah,
it's a
because
legit problem in our house.
How you scooping your ice cream, man?
With a spoon.
Stop your madness.
I know.
It's in the Bible. Like, thou shalt not scoop your ice cream with a spoon like the barbarians do around you.
As we're talking here, my right arm has gone numb.
Are you having a heart attack?
I don't know. It's in my right arm. It is very weird.
I thought
in
that
my
was.
shoulder.
I thought that was the heart attack
It's on the left arm, isn't it?
Well, I think it's. Google it. Ask ChatGPT. My right arm just went numb.
I'm like sweating.
I dying?
Right now. What in the world happened?
What has happened? Are you okay?
Right arm.
Do not die on this podcast.
Numb. What in the world? Ow. We're just keeping on talking.
Just keep on talking till you die. Quick, say something smart.
Well,
you're fixing to go out.
Now, dude. This is insane.
It's a very stressful podcast. I disagree
It hurts
with Bruce
now.
Walkie.
Now it hurts.
Oh man, you're having a heart attack.
I'm not having no heart attack.
We gotta wrap this thing up.
All right. I'm not having no heart attack though.
No, you're too young for that mess.
What in the world is going on with it though?
That's weird.
It is very weird. It's
I don't like
one
it.
of the weirdest feelings
It's
I've
stress,
ever had.
man. You're having a stress. You're fixing to have to go to Amsterdam. You hate that place.
I'm like sweating though.
Dude, sweating in a right arm, dude. It's freaking heart
weird.
attack. I'm telling
I'm
you.
not having a heart attack.
Okay.
What is a heart attack symptoms?
Heart attack symptoms. I'm asking ChatGPT. It knows everything. What is heart attack? We can edit this out.
Oh man.
Let's see. Chest pain or discomfort.
Am I having a heart attack?
Shortness of breath. A pain and discomfort in arm, especially left arm.
Left arm, not right arm. It's just my right arm.
Back, neck, jaw. Cold sweat.
I am having a cold sweat though.
Nausea, vomiting, lightheadedness, and dizziness.
What did I do? I'm okay. All right, let's finish talking. I'm fine.
Okay.
This is nuts though. This feels very weird. All right. We have the sin offering. Oh, so it covers priests who sin.
Oh.
You know, that's part of it. It's like these priests who sin unintentionally.
Priests also sin.
Yeah.
That's why we need a great high priest.
Yeah. There's instructions about the whole community. If like this is like all of Israel has done this, or even a leader. So there's a lot of text in this, and common people. So there's like a lot of different things, but it's all about this like unintentional sin that happens.
Yeah.
And then you have in chapter 5 cases requiring sin offerings, and that's a pretty interesting. If he touches, uncleanness on accident, like you're saying,
dead
all that
bodies
kind of
or
stuff.
something. Yeah.
And then you have the guilt offering. Okay.
That's when you knew you did wrong.
Well, it's also unintentionally, right? If someone offends by sinning unintentionally in regard to any of the Lord's holy things, he must bring his penalty for guilt to the Lord. So this is like messing up something about an offering.
Yeah.
Right? So that's basically how that works. If someone sins and without knowing it violates any of the Lord's commands concerning anything prohibited, he is guilty and will bear his iniquity. And so it seems like it has something to do with cleanliness surrounding the sacrifices. You know?
Well, I actually ate some of the fat. You're not supposed to eat that part off the kidney, dummy. I'm like, but you should have learned that in your intro to Priesthood 101. Yeah.
But it's also covered for some reason in things like covers like robbery and theft and some things like that too. So, they had to kill animals and everything for all sorts of reasons.
Yeah, and if I don't know if it's in Leviticus or not. Like if you're walking around the back 40 and you found somebody that's got an axe buried in their skull, and you're like, I didn't do that.
Yeah. You got to touch the body.
Everybody in Israel had to make an offering. They're like, we didn't murder this guy, and we don't know who did, Lord. We're sorry. We're offering up an offering now because somebody did it, and we don't know who.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you have all these the big deal, you bring it back to like all of the offerings put together.
Yeah.
Is that sin is crazy expensive, and even unintentional sin matters.
Yeah.
Yeah. It all matters.
Have you ever become aware of an unintentional sin?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh,
Yeah.
what'd you do?
It's usually an attitude issue or like how I've been talking or thinking or something. It's like along those lines.
Yeah, a little too judgy or quick to
criticize or something. Yep.
Somebody's like,
anger.
hey, you've
that just literally just happened to me the other day about anger.
What?
Yeah, Steph called me on it.
Did she?
She's absolutely right.
What a good person.
She's a good wife. Yeah.
She's like, hey, you've been angry too much lately.
I have. I was an angry person.
And you were like, I have not.
Yeah.
And then you thought about it and you're
angry.
like, oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
I guess I am. Yeah.
I guess I am kind of an angry person.
Trying to be a joyful person.
Yeah. And you need to sleep more. That'll help you. I tell people that a lot.
Yeah.
A lot of sin.
It's not in the cards. Sleep more is not in the cards for me.
I know. So I woke up 2 nights ago at like 3 o'clock in the morning, and I think this is starting to turn into old man sleep or something. And I couldn't sleep, and I was like, "But I need it.
Yeah.
Why can't I not sleep?
Please
Go back to sleep." But I was just like, wide awake. I think it's the temperature change.
Yeah.
Because we sleep cold in the winter.
Yeah.
Like polar bears, and then it gets warmer, and we don't turn the air on. No way. Well, that'd be ridiculous. So, we'd have to pay. But we didn't think about setting it. I didn't realize. So it was like 72 in my house or something. Yeah. And I've been used to sleeping at like 64. I'm like sweating. I think that's why. And so I need to offer a sin offering. Why? But if you think.
Speaking of rabbit trail, I'm about to squirrel on you.
Do it.
So the other day, I told you I had to put in new batteries for my electric riding lawnmower and stuff.
Yes.
It sent me on a rabbit trail, a squirrely moment for myself, an entire evening of research on batteries and solar power.
Yes.
And like what it would take to like run solar for your house or something.
Yeah.
Dude, not that bad. Not that expensive.
I know. It's getting better.
It's like you could run your entire everything for about 10 grand.
I watch about 3 times a year because Elon Musk, love him, hate him, whatever. He's got a company that does it.
Yeah, Tesla does it.
And it's amazing.
Yeah.
But they don't service our area yet.
Yeah.
I check all the time to see if they're doing that.
You can just buy it.
Yeah.
And you can install it yourself. And it's not that crazy. And but yeah, it's like if I was building a house, 100%, I would just like what's $10,000 on the mortgage extra,
Yeah.
Just do it. You need a battery wall and you need solar panels.
Yeah.
And it's in Alabama will buy power off of you.
Yeah, I know.
They'll buy your power.
That you don't use.
Yeah, that you don't use. You can put it back into the grid and they'll pay for it.
Yeah.
So anyways, I don't know. It got me. I researched. I went down that road trail.
Well, what happens is you think I can do it for 10 grand, which means it probably costs 20. And then you think, well, $20,000. How much am I paying a month for power? Like 200? So how many years does it take for me to recoup it?
But it's not actually one of those things where like I can do it for 10 and you do it for 20. It's just 10 is what it costs.
That's what they tell you.
Well, there's only
get you.
Well, there's only like you only have a couple options for a battery.
Yeah.
And they each like the batteries are $5,000. That's just what they cost.
Yeah.
There's no.
You think you could wire it and everything?
Oh yeah. Heck yeah. I could wire my entire house.
I hate electricity.
Yeah. And then panels, it's just like, how many panels do you need to generate? How many watt hours you need,
What?
Yeah. And so there's now, if you were not comfortable doing electrical work on it or something, you'd have, you have to pay someone to do that. But
yeah,
I'm super comfortable.
Good. I'll pay you in Coca-Colas.
Yeah.
We can come over and wire my house and we can do it. We'll go in halvesies. It won't help. It won't help.
I don't know how we I that topic.
You did that.
I did that.
You squirreled us. Don't blame me.
I squirreled it. It was my fault.
You need to offer a sin offering.
My shoulders finally, it went away.
Your shoulder went away?
No, the pain, weird stuff went away.
Well,
that was so bizarre, man.
You need to relax from
that. Hurt.
You need more sleep.
I'm not sweating no more either.
Yeah.
So we got a couple more minutes left. We can. You want to talk about the ordination of these priests of Aaron and his sons?
Yeah, we can.
All right, that's in chapter 8.
Yeah.
That's you mentioned at the beginning of the podcast.
I did.
They get the blood on them.
They do.
You know.
And they didn't. I don't think they were
you
supposed
have this
to.
thing about in verse 8. He put the breastpiece on him and placed the Urim and the Thummim on it. Do you know what that is?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So these are basically, for best maybe, like domino looking things. They're these two.
They're like dice.
They're like ancient dice.
Yeah.
With probably not 6-sided.
Yeah.
And they used them for divination from the Lord.
Yeah.
And so if a question came up they did not know the answer to, they could cast the, what is it, Urim and the Thummim, and they would cast it.
Yeah.
And whatever dice rolled up, that was the will of God.
Yeah.
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 And it was in the high priest's ephod.
Yeah. It was like in a little pouch on his breastplate.
Yes.
You know? And it's so bizarre.
It happens a few times. It happens in the New Testament.
David actually does it.
Yes.
He has the priests walking around with him, and they do it.
They do it.
So in the
it
New
keeps
Testament,
you from getting killed.
Where's it happening in the New Testament?
When they choose an apostle.
Well, it's not Urim and Thummim there.
They cast the lots.
They do. They cast lots for them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. They choose the next.
The concept is there.
Yeah. Yeah. That's hard to like reconcile for me for some reason. I probably shouldn't be. It's in the Bible.
But one of the explanations.
Why don't we do that?
One of the explanations for that is it's pre-Pentecost, and that the Spirit of God had not yet been poured out on the church.
That's actually fair.
So they did it pre-Pentecost. After that, we never see them do it again.
That's fair.
From then on, the Spirit of God like pushes people out to do stuff, like Paul and Barnabas get set aside and those sorts of things. And I even heard, I don't like this, but I've heard it said they shouldn't have done it. It is narrative.
Really?
Yeah, because Paul was the one that God had chosen to be the next apostle, not, which one was it? What was it? Matthias. Yeah. But who cares? We don't know. But they did that. They did cast the lots.
I've never heard anyone say they shouldn't have done it.
Yeah, well, people say dumb stuff. Well, it's narrative. So I'll say there's a 20% chance that they shouldn't have done it. Yeah. There's no moral commentary made on it.
It doesn't.
We don't really hear from that guy again.
Acts is more likely to give you some moral commentary on things. Though. Yeah. It's a little more transparent on that.
Yeah. I still wouldn't build a whole bunch of doctrine out of Acts.
No.
No. Because some things happen in Acts, it's like, what?
Yeah.
Was that normal? And it's like, doesn't give you anything.
I think that's a good point. When you read Acts, should you be thinking that this is normal?
No.
I don't think so either.
Absolutely not. Because there's weird stuff that happens. Like Paul comes to this place and it's like, hey, yeah, we love Jesus, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, well, have you received the baptism of the Spirit? And he said, well, we had John's baptism. Yeah. It's like, well, I don't count. Yeah. Like, what? What was it? Well, we're going to baptize you in Christian baptism.
Yeah.
It's like, well, what was the difference? I don't know. Yeah. So there's like some weird stuff that happens. It shouldn't be considered normative because it was an unusual moment in the history of the church.
Yeah. I mean, it's like that's a big issue with the charismatic churches.
Yes.
That they look at Acts and like, this is normative Christianity.
It should always be
like this. But that's like looking at Elijah and Elisha. I mean, like the miracle workers.
Yeah.
This is normal.
Oh,
everyone should be doing stuff like this.
We should have prophets around that can call down fire from heaven all the time.
Yeah.
Because that's just how it happens.
No, it's not normal. It's crazy. It's like super rare.
Super rare.
Like you have Moses who is Joshua gets to do some stuff, and what happens in the Judges? Dude, there's a couple things, but it ain't like nothing like that.
There's not a lot of good stuff happens in there.
Yeah.
And even the people who do good stuff wind up doing some crazy stuff, like
killing
their daughter, probably. He may not have killed her. Jephthah. Was it Jephthah?
Something like that,
yeah. That's a weird thing. She comes out. He says, first thing comes out of my house, I'll sacrifice it to you. And his daughter comes out playing a tambourine.
Yeah.
But it could be he just didn't allow her to marry. There's a little subtext there that she would be barren. Not that he actually put her on a pyre and killed her. Yeah. But it's possible he did.
It's possible. Weird, dude. But you shouldn't look at Acts and expect that to be what your spiritual life looks like. All of it,
No. The book of Acts is the adventures of the Holy Spirit in the early church.
None of y'all, when y'all were saved, had fire above your head.
Not a one.
That didn't happen to you.
Did not happen to me. I did think I was going to fall into the fire and die, but I did not have a tongue of fire rest upon me.
Yeah.
I thought I was going to hell is what I meant by that.
Yeah. So this is not normal.
No, it's not normative.
Yeah.
It's not.
And one of the things I like, the charismatic folks, it's a little upsetting to me that the expectation, they believe the expectation is every Christian should have these wild things happening when they're speaking in other languages and everything. That's the expectation. And for 2,000 years, up until 1920, no one did it.
Nobody.
No one did it.
Nobody's still doing it except at their house.
Yeah, at their church. Yeah. And so, like, the deeply vast majority of Christians who've ever lived were like crippled.
It's practically.
Hobbled.
I'm gonna say something crazy. It's practically the Latter-day Saint error.
Yeah.
As if the church vanished for 2,000 years.
It is. Yeah, it is.
It's dumb. But back to Moses. So these guys were installed. They weren't just as Nadab, Abihu, and Aaron. Nadab and Abihu are Aaron's sons. They're installed not just as priests. This is the installation for them as high priest, or Aaron as high priest.
Aaron's high priest, yeah.
So the Levitical priesthood, there was a lot of people who were descendants of Levi, and not every single Levi could be a high priest.
Yeah.
Not every single Levite could be a high priest. Only Aaron and his sons could be. So, like, they were Levites of Levites, if that makes sense. Yeah. And so they're being installed as the high priest after the order of Aaron.
Yep.
And that's a big deal in the future. And also Hebrews talks about it just hammering. Yep. Jesus is not of the order of Aaron.
Yep.
He is of the order of Melchizedek or Chisedek, depends on if you're educated, right? I'm not ever sure which one I am. I say Augustine.
Which one is the educated version?
I think the educated people say Melchizedek.
They got to put the little
they got to be fancy.
Melchizedek.
But it's a CH, and everybody in Alabama says Melchizedek.
Yeah. Do they?
Oh, I do. So I'm everybody.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I've always actually heard Melchizedek. Yeah.
That's because you're in fancy places.
I'm
You
not
went
sure.
to DTS. That's smart.
I'm not sure that was a fancy. I thought that was the redneck.
Well, maybe I grew up with a bunch of rednecks that said Melchizedek, and I don't know. But anyway, it's the same guy. It's King of Righteousness.
Yeah.
But the order of Aaron, God gives it to the house of Aaron, and they immediately screw it up.
Yeah.
Let's save that for later.
One of the only narrative pieces of Leviticus is
Nadab and Abihu are barely priests of God, and they are killed by God.
Yeah.
And you know what it is, man? It's that attention to detail we talked about earlier.
Yeah. That's what we'll talk about next week. We'll talk about the fresh off their blood splattering ordination, and they screwed all up. Yeah, we'll talk about that next week on the Big Deal podcast.
Because I've heard all kinds of stuff about why they got killed.
Oh, yeah?
I
can't wait.
Yep.
All right, I heard something weird. It's super weird a couple weeks ago about this, and I can't wait to
talk about Nadab and Abihu?
Yeah, I can't wait to talk about it with you.
Really?
All right. We'll talk about it next week on the Big Deal podcast.
Or maybe
Build
tomorrow.
some suspense. Yeah, it'll be next week for you guys.
Yeah, sorry.
All right. We'll see y'all later.
Okay, love you. Bye.